Alright, guys, we are live. Alright, so let's go over what happened in the division series and what we think might happen in the league championship series, which starts in about 4 hours. Starting off with Yankees and Blue Jays. I said Blue Jays in 5, ended up being Blue Jays in 4. The reason why: the Yankees finished the season 6-11 against the Yankees, when 6-11 is the 187th semi-prime, and New York Yankees equals 187. Mariners and Tigers. I knew this was going to be a big tribute to Minoru Yamasaki. I've already talked about how it was. What ended up happening was that they won. What was it? It was 1 month and 21 days. Game 5 was 1 month and 21 days before his birthday. Like, this is the year of the 121st World Series. His birthday is on 12/1. The Tigers ended up getting their 91st win of the season, but that was it. They fell to 4, and the Tigers finished the season 4-7 against the Mariners. Seattle's on the 47th parallel, and the game 5 ended in 15 innings, when 47 is the 15th prime number. And Seattle also got their 218th win against the Tigers all time, which is the 73rd prime number. Like how Minoru Yamasaki died at age 73. And Dan Wilson got his 114th win. Pearl Harbor was 114. And was that, I think it was it 73 days? It was 73. It may have been 73 days before Pearl. No, it wasn't 73 days. It was definitely 73 days before something. I can't remember at the top of my head. Oh no, it was 7 weeks and 3 days before, because it ended up being 52 days before his birthday, which was 7 weeks and 3 days before his birthday. That's what it was. All right, so it ended up being Mariners in 5. Brewers and Cubs. I thought it was going to go 5 games, but I picked the wrong team. I thought it was going to be the Cubs. It ended up being the Brewers. The Brewers did get their 100th win. Well, Milwaukee equals 100. And the Cubs finished the season 9-9 against the Brewers. Brewers equals 99. And I don't have it on here, but the Cubs fell to 4-4 in the playoffs, and Wisconsin equals 44. Dodgers and Phillies, right team, wrong amount of games. I thought it was going to go 5. Ended up finishing in 4. Dave Roberts got his 45th playoff loss. Phillies equals 45, and that was it. So for each of the 4 series, I either got the right team or the right amount of games. 3 of them I got the right team, and 1 of them I got the right amount of games but wrong team. So pretty good, not 100%. You can't really expect to go 100%. And as I said in a live stream either yesterday or the other day, the team that you get right is more important than the amount of games. The amount of games is kind of extra credit. So I got 3 out of 4, which is pretty good. All right, now moving on to the ALCS. What I'm going to do is I'm going to not have these notes up. All right, so I'm just going to have the notes off on the side. I'm not going to share them. There we go. Okay. Yeah, I have them on my other screen right now. So I can just look at them, and then I'll show you the actual screen. So starting off, so today is, let's do this again. So today is the 12th. Until his birthday, span of 51 days, right? So it's a span of 51 days, or 1 month and 20 days. And Illuminati 120. Adam Weishaupt. Well, I guess that's not here. There, Illuminati, founded on Illuminati, founded on the 1st of May, or May 1st, 5-1. All right. Remember Adam Weishaupt was his name equal in Gematria? Oops. 51, okay? And remember last year, it was the 120th World... Last year was the 120th World Series. Last year was the 120th World Series, and it ended up, if I remember correctly, I think the... Shoot, I have to go back, but I think it was the final game ended... No, it wasn't. It was 5. Oh, hold, no, it was. This is what it was. No, because it was on November 1st. My bad. The championship parade was on November 1st, which was 5 weeks and 1 day before Pearl Harbor Day, and it was also 5 months and 1 day after manager Dave Roberts' birthday, who is Japanese American, and I'll talk about him later. So yeah, that's how they do the Illuminati stuff. Anyways, back to this year. Right, so it is also 1 month and 19 days, like Mariners 119. Remember the last time the Mariners were in the ALCS, which was 2001, they had 119 wins on the season entering that ALCS, where they ultimately fell to New York 41 days after 9/11 on Ichiro's birthday. Also, if we look at Game 6, so Game 6, Sunday, Game 5, Friday, if we look up Kraken versus Leafs, that's Seattle versus Toronto, they play each other right in between Games 5 and 6. So I have no doubt that this game will be in tribute. Will have a connection to this series. I have no doubt that it'll have a connection. And yeah, speaking of Game 6, so that'll be on the 19th, like 1/19. So that is 1 month and 12 days before his birthday. Again, well, they're actually, Seattle doesn't equal 112, but Seattle equals 82, and 112 is the 82nd composite. But it's also, and yeah, 43 days. Mariners is 43. I'm going to go back here. Mariners, 43. But it's also before his death date. It is 110 days before his death date. Remember World Trade Center towers, which he does. Here we go, Minoru Yamasaki. World Trade Center. Let's see, does it say anything about 110? Yep, 110. There we go. Also, was it Osama bin Laden? His name equals 110. American Airlines. The first plane to hit the towers was from American Airlines, or at least so we're told. That also equals 110. And it was Flight 11. Anyways, yeah, Game 6, just to show you his death date, February 6th. And it will be the 40th anniversary of his death date. Like this is the 121st World Series, and 121 is the 40th semi-prime. All right, so then that means that Game 7 will be 109 days, or that will a span of 110. And 109 is interesting too because Los Angeles equals 109. They're also in the NLCS. I'll talk about this later, but remember Minoru Yamasaki, he does have that Century. The Century Plaza Tower is in LA. 44 stories. Seattle 44. I remember that was a big clue as to that was those buildings were a big tribute for Shohei Ohtani's signing with the Dodgers. His name is 193 44th Prime. Right, yeah, these are in LA. But anyways, so LA also has the Minoru Yamasaki connection. I actually should see if Milwaukee does. No, I don't think. Because I know he does. The Pruitt Igo stuff, that is actually kind of interesting because the original Milwaukee Brewers, if we just search Milwaukee Brewers. So what's interesting about the current Milwaukee Brewers, there was an original Milwaukee Brewers. If we look at this one here, the original Milwaukee Brewers moved to St. Louis, and then they moved to Baltimore to become the Orioles. But so there is like a Milwaukee-St. Louis connection, although it's not very strong, I would say, but it is there. And yeah, that's probably the second most famous structure or complex that Yamasaki designed. Okay, anyways, on to the teams. The Blue Jays for the season. I'm going to drag this back over. The Blue Jays on the season are 97 and 69. Seattle Mariners equals 100. So is that a sign they're going to win 3 games and that'll be it? We'll see. They are 3-1 in the playoffs so far. Didn't really see. I mean, Toronto equals 71, so maybe they could sweep them. Toronto, Ontario, 74. They could. That was a big clue that the Mariners were going to win on Friday because they would finish the season 7-4 against the Tigers to go play their next game in Toronto, Ontario, which is what's going to happen. If they do lose in 5, it will be. It's both teams' 49th season, which is 7 times 7, and they came into the league in 77. So I guess that if he's 3-5 in the playoffs, maybe they go 1-4, lose in 5, or they could win in 6 to get to 7, so he could get to 7-7. The Blue Jays are 4-2 against the Mariners this year. Rogers Center, where the Blue Jays play, that's 66. Seattle does equal 82, so that's another thing, another potential role for a Blue Jays sweep. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. Toronto Blue Jays equals 85, so maybe they win in 7. But this one here, Toronto equals 36. That one goes in line with this one, Seattle Mariners equals 100. This would have them finishing the season on 100 games. This would have them at 3-6 against Seattle in the playoffs all time. So those would both mean that they would lose in 7. Rogers Center equals 69. 213. They have 211 all-time losses against Seattle. Actually, I want to make sure that's correct. I want to make sure that includes the playoffs. Give me a second here. Blue Jays record versus Mariners, including playoffs. And it is 228 and 211. Is that what I have here? Yes, 228 and 211. Okay, that's good. Yeah, so Toronto Blue Jays equals. I feel like Seattle's got to win at least one to get to 212. I have the same notes down here. Right, 213 is the 69th semi-prime. So if they. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to lose the first 2, but who knows? Again, that's 209, not including the not including the playoffs. So maybe they get their 213th head-to-head loss against them next year when they play at the Rogers Center, and that would just be regular season included. If Seattle does win this series, they'll advance to the World Series with 97 wins. Remember, 97 is the 25th prime number. We're in 2025. One of the reasons why we liked Seattle in Game 5 against the Tigers, this one was a little tricky, but the Mariners became, there's like Mariners, was it? Mariners home record in playoffs. I think they became 10-11 at home in the playoffs, and 10-11 is the 303rd semi-prime, and 303 is the 97th semi-prime. So that was one of those weird things that was another reason why I like the Mariners to win on Friday. All right, back to here. And they also, if they get 4 more wins, then they would get their 24th playoff win all time. Canada, remember the Blue Jays are the only team in Canada, which equals 24. And they also enter the series with 24 playoff losses. I don't think they're going to sweep and get to 24-24, but maybe they win in Game 6 or Game 7 to get their 24th playoff win in Canada. As Toronto equals 72, they are 3-2 in these playoffs. I don't think they're going to sweep. Toronto, Ontario equals 74, so that's a sign maybe they'll win in 6. And as I said earlier, they improved to 7-4 against the Tigers by winning on Friday for the season. And their next game is in Toronto, Ontario. Dan Wilson, 114 wins overall as a manager. Toronto equals 117. So I feel like he would get at least 3 wins. Although one scares that they're 3-2 in the playoffs right now, and Mariners in 56 goes really well. As I said, 56 in the Mariners goes well when it's for the Mariners. If it's a team like trying to become 5-6 against the Mariners, that usually doesn't hit from what I've seen. So if they lost in, how many games would that be? If they lost in 6 games, they would be 5-6. They'd be 5-6 for the playoffs. They're 2-4 against the Blue Jays, and if they win in 6, that Game 6 would be in Rogers Center, which equals 66. Also, speaking of ballparks, one of the reasons why I liked the wrong page. Here we go. One of the reasons why I liked the Mariners in Game 5 the other day was T-Mobile Park. T-Mobile Park 67. The Tigers fell to, I believe it was, let me see if I can remember. The Tigers record on October 10th. I think that's what it was. Yeah, they became 6-7 all time on October 10th in T-Mobile Park, which equals 67. And 67 is also the 19th prime, like how Seattle equals 19. And by the way, there is something interesting. The Blue Jays, if I can spell it correctly, Jays home playoff record. So they are on 19 home playoff wins right now. It would be interesting to see if they fall to, if they win Game 1 to get to 19-19, or versus Mariners in 2025. Well, they are 4-2. Remember, Mariners is 43. Well, so I feel like they'll split the first 2 in Toronto. And as I said earlier, I feel like Seattle's got to win at least one to get to 212 against the Mariners all time, or against the Blue Jays all time. So I'm thinking Mariners at 7 because the one that Seattle Seattle Mariners equals 100, Blue Jays finishing the year on 100 wins. That seems right to me. And Seattle getting that 97th win, they'd get their 24th playoff win in Canada. Okay, I'll move on to the NLCS, and after I talk about the NLCS, we'll talk about the 4 potential matchups for the World Series. All right, in the NLCS, the Brewers have a good narrative because 25 and 34. I should say. Here, let me add this. 104 is 76th composite, and Dodger Stadium equals 76. Okay, I added that. So are they going to win in 4 or 5? We'll see. Los Angeles equals 109, the 29th prime. If the Brewers win 4, they'll get their 29th playoff win. And I put here Milwaukee and Los Angeles both equal 37, so maybe that's a sign they'll win in 7, which would be a reversal of 2018. And they're 3-2 in these playoffs. Dodgers does equal 72, and Los Angeles Dodgers and Milwaukee Brewers both equal 73. So that is a sign that they will get the sweep or win in 5 and get their 104th win of the season in Dodger Stadium. Maybe, I don't think so though. Yeah, this one, these numbers here have them winning in 7. Would be a good riddle for them to win in 7. And the Brewers Stadium, American Family Field, it's kind of a shame it's no longer called Miller Park. Because, I mean, they're the Brewers. It has to be Miller Park. But if they haven't lost a game to the Dodgers yet this year. If they won in, or actually this would be if they lost in 7. If they lost in 7, just like they did in 2018, they would finish the season 9-4 against the Dodgers in American Family Field. They're 3-6 against the Dodgers in the playoffs. Again, Dodger Stadium, 76. Are they going to sweep? We'll find out. Yeah, and this one here, Los Angeles equals 109. They have their 109th. They could get their 109th loss if they lose 3 games. 109th head-to-head loss. I should elaborate. For the Dodgers side, yeah, they enter the series with 98 wins on the season. Milwaukee Brewers equals 98. And I feel like they'll win at least 2. Milwaukee equals 100. They'll get that 100th win. Yeah, if they lose 4 more, they'll get their 157th all-time playoff loss. And 157 is the 37th prime, like how I mentioned up here. Milwaukee and Los Angeles both equal 37. They are 5-1 in these playoffs. As I mentioned here, American Family Field equals 94. So if they win 4 games to 3, they will be 9-4 in the playoffs, and the Brewers would fall to 9-4 against them for the season. And yeah, just to show you on a map here. Here, let's pull out a map. Actually, no, hold on. I'm going to switch. Wait, which? Oh, that's that one. Okay. We're going to go to this tab. One thing I really need. If we go to Milwaukee, no, let's just go up here. Oh, let me turn off. Don't need that on right now. Alright, so let's zoom into Milwaukee here. There, American Family Field, right next to I-94. There you go. Yeah, now this was the time when the Pope Leo, the new Pope. He was at the White Sox game in the World Series. This was the 101st World Series, and they had Bobby Jenks. I'll talk about this in a little bit. There's Bobby Jenks on the mound. Bobby Jenks just died. Again, this was the 101st World Series. Robert Scott Jenks, Bobby Jenks' full name. There's the Pope, 20 years ago. I believe this was on Ichiro's birthday too. Yeah, this game was on Ichiro's 32nd birthday, which is interesting. But we'll talk about that later. Back to the NLCS. Yeah, they are 100. They do have 106 wins against the Brewers all time. Actually, I want to make sure that includes the. I want to make sure that includes the playoffs. Yes, it does. Okay. That includes the playoffs. Yeah, Milwaukee, Wisconsin equals 108. Los Angeles 109. So based on these results, I said pick. I'm not sure. The Brewers have the better riddles to win, but as I'll talk about in a minute, the Dodgers-Mariners World Series has a great narrative. The thing about... So the Brewers winning... I feel like they would getting their 29th playoff win against Los Angeles makes a lot of sense. It might go 7 again. It might. Yeah, the Dodgers getting their 157th playoff loss would also make sense. But okay, now we'll talk about the potential World Series matchup. So my favorite World Series matchup entering the postseason was Cubs-Mariners because remember the Cubs won the 112th World Series. Bobby Jenks died 112 days after his birthday and 112 days before Game 1 of the World Series. Charlie Kirk, who was a Cubs fan, died on the day, leaving 112 days left in the year. The Mariners manager, Dan Wilson, is also from Arlington Heights. And 51 days from his shooting to when I think the World Series is going to end on Halloween. But the Cubs, instead, they ended up getting eliminated 31 days after Charlie Kirk died at age 31 by the score of 3-1. And then, there was the Federal Reserve Bank of Chicago Detroit branch building annex that was one of Yamasaki's first designs. But as I said, the Cubs are eliminated. So that does have me thinking that I think Mariners-Dodgers makes a lot of sense. And I'm going to talk about why. Okay. Actually, hold on, let me switch. Okay. So as we've said, Minoru Yamasaki is from Seattle. He designed the World Trade Center. All right, and he also designed the Century Plaza Towers in LA. And Seattle, let's just look up. Seattle used to be called New York. Right. So okay, it didn't used to be called New York, but the initial settlement, it sounds like, was called New York. But yeah, that was in 1851. Right, and as I said earlier, Dan Wilson has 114 wins. Hold on. Let me switch my tab back. Move this over here. All right, Dan Wilson is on 114 wins. If he wins 4 more, he will get to 118. Switch it back here. Is that not correct? Hang on. Do I have the right? Oh, no, I need to switch it to this one. Hold on. Okay. All right, so if they get to 118, if Dan Wilson wins 4 more, he'll get to 118. Los Angeles, California equals 118. It's also on the 118th meridian. So we'll see what happens there. Right, okay, and then the couple more things. Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right. There it is. Okay. All right, a couple more things. So as I mentioned earlier, Dan Wilson equals 51. The first firm that Minoru Yamasaki joined he graduated from NYU with a master's degree, and then joined Shreve, Lamb, and Harmon, who designed the Empire State Building. And the Empire State Building opened in history on May 1st, 5/1, which is the 121st day of the year. And also what's interesting about that day is every year from May 1st, let's do May 1st, was it 1931? From every year from the previous 9/11, 1930. Every year from the previous 9/11 to the Empire State Building's opening day is 233 days, which is the 51st prime. And so that means, for example, let's just do from 9/11 until the Empire State Building's next birthday. There you go, 233 days. But yeah, 121st day of the year. We're in the 121st World Series. The 1951 World Series. All right, let's talk about the 19. So yeah, remember, Seattle founded in 51. It was originally called 51. The 1951 World Series was between 2 of the New York teams, the Giants and the Yankees. So the Yankees ended up winning 4-2, which meant they got 102 wins on the season, like how 9/11 ended up lasting for 102 minutes. And then a few years later, you had the 1954 World Series, which was the 51st World Series. And you had the Giants, the New York team. They won it. They got 101 wins on the season. If the Mariners do win this World Series, they will have 101 wins. But the Indians entered the World Series with 111 wins and stayed on 111 wins because they got swept. And again, Dan Wilson won 11, New York won 11. J.P. Crawford, the guy who scored the game-winning run the other day. It was, he has that 111, yeah, he's got that 111 birthday as the Mariners became 10-11 at home in the playoffs. I think it was also something about, hold on, 10-10-2025 until 1-11-2026. Right, so it is also a span of 94 days before his birthday, and the Empire State Building is 94 years old right now. And 94 is the 33rd semi-prime. 94, 33rd semi-prime. The Empire State Building is on. Well, I think its official. Okay, its official address is Fifth Avenue, but I mean, if you look at it more closely, you'll see it like. Actually, hold on. We can just go here. 30. Yeah, there between 33rd and 34th Street. Oh yeah, and the Empire Building, Empire State Building, 102 stories tall. Like on the 1951 World Series, the Yankees got their 102nd win of the season. And also going along with all that, remember Dave Roberts. Dave Roberts, he is Japanese American. He won the 116th World Series. Attack on Pearl Harbor equals 116, and that World Series was won on 10/27, like how Pearl Harbor was the USS Arizona was the casualty on 12/7. Just to show you, 2020 World Series, 116th edition, ended on October 27, 10/27, like 127. And this also connects with Octavio Dotel, because he died at age 51, and his name equals 51. And the first team he played for was the Mets in New York. And he also played a bit for the Yankees, and he played a bit for the Dodgers, and he played a bit for the Blue Jays, and he played a couple seasons with the Tigers, whom the Mariners just eliminated. Now they're about to face the Blue Jays. Are they going to face the Dodgers next after that? We'll find out. But anyways, those are my thoughts on a potential Dodgers Mariners World Series, because there all these 51s. 51 was big in the World Series last year, involving the Dodgers against New York, and New York used to be, or Seattle used to be called New York, and Minoru Yamasaki, who designed the World Trade Center, is from Seattle, and Magnus and Klemenchich, Associates, is also from Seattle, and there's probably more that I'm not thinking. Oh, sorry, Boeing is from Seattle. Okay, the other potential one, my second favorite one, is Blue Jays and Brewers. Again, it's the 121st World Series. That's 11 squared. This would be the one seed versus the one seed. Paul Molitor. It's funny. I used to think his name was pronounced Paul Molitor, but anyways, about him. Let's pull up Paul Molitor here, or Paul Molitor, however you say his name. All right, Paul Molitor. He spent the majority of his career with the Brewers, and then went to the Blue Jays and won the World Series. All right, but he is 69 years old right now. World Series equals 69, as you see right there. I should look at his birthday. When's his birthday? His birthday is August 22nd. So from his birthday until game 1 of the World Series, 63, it is exactly 9 weeks. Let's look at his name gematria. I think his middle name was Leo, if I remember correctly. Paul Leo Molitor. Okay, so what's interesting is that if the World Series ends in 5, oh no, sorry, not if it ends in 5. If it ends in 5, it would end a span of 69 days after his 69th birthday, when World Series is 69. And what's very interesting is the Bucks versus Raptors. The Bucks and the Raptors play on what is supposed to be Game 1 of the World Series. Friday, October 24th. Look up 2025 World Series start date. Friday, October 24th. So that's an interesting one too. Blue Jays, Brewers. Next one, Mariners and Brewers. So we were just talking about 69 with Paul Molitor. I should switch tabs. All right. So the Milwaukee Brewers, they're in their 57th season. Remember, World Series equals 57 and 69 like we were just talking about. The Milwaukee Brewers, is there just a page with just the Brewers? Hang on. I have to click back. Here we go. Established in 1969 as the Seattle Pilots, they moved to Milwaukee after 1 year. Again, 69-57. Founded in 69, they're in their 57th season. 57-69. The 1957 World Series. 1957 World Series. Milwaukee Braves over the Yankees. New York. All right. Remember there's all those Seattle, New York connections. What's interesting is, so you have the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that used to be in Seattle. You also have the Seattle Supersonics no longer exists, but they were in Seattle. They won 1979 NBA Finals. That was, okay, it was their 33rd season, but that's another topic for another time. So they won the 79 NBA Finals, right? Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, they were originally the Seattle Supersonics, and they just won the 79th NBA season, or 79th NBA Finals. So again, are we going to have a theme of like former Seattle teams winning it? It would be a neat connection. And the Thunder won the NBA Finals on June 22nd, as you see there. From June 22nd until the potential end of the World Series, 131 days. Championship 131. We'll see about that. I mean, again, that doesn't necessarily have to mean it'll be Seattle versus Milwaukee. It could be Toronto versus Milwaukee if that's the case. But I feel like that would make more sense because the 1957 World Series, that was over New York, and Seattle has those New York connections. So it'll be very interesting. The only one that I don't see a riddle for right now, at least, is Blue Jays and Dodgers. I mean, maybe there is, and I'm just not seeing it right now. That's possible. Anyways, I I think I pretty much covered everything that I wanted to have covered. And I guess so. Yeah, in regards to Bobby Jenks, I've talked about him before, but I guess I can talk about him again. So Bobby Jenks, his full name, Robert Scott Jenks. Robert Scott Jenks, 101. Also interesting, his name equals 214 because the current Pope, as I showed here, the Pope was at the game. Let's just see it again there. The Pope's at the game, and he took over for Pope. He took over as Pope after Pope Francis died on the 21st of April, 21/4. He was the... No, it was, what was it? Hold on. Pope Francis, did he die at age 80? Yeah, he died at age 88. That's what it was. And the White Sox in this World Series snapped an 88-year drought. But anyways, with Bobby Jenks, oh, 101, right? This was the 101st World Series. 101st World Series. And if the Mariners do win the World Series, there's this Mariners 2025 record, including playoffs. Yes, if they get 8 more, they'll win the World Series with 101. And Bobby Jenks, he did go to high school in Kenmore, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle. I guess I should look up when his first and last games, who they were against, because that might be a clue. His first ever game was against the Devil Rays. His last ever game against Baltimore. What about his last game with the White Sox? Against Boston. Okay, so nothing really stands out there. Wait, finally, this game ended 3-5. Catholic 35. Chicago 35. And there he is. All right, did I cover everything that I wanted to cover? Let me just go back through my notes again. Actually, I should see, because now that USC and UCLA are in the Big Ten, let's look at their football schedules, because I wonder if they'll play, either Washington or Wisconsin. Okay, that's not until November. I don't play Wisconsin. Let's look at Washington's football schedule. Okay, well that's still going to be like a week after the World Series. Washington versus Wisconsin is a week after the World Series. I should look at Wisconsin's schedule. What about, I want to look at USC's schedule. Does Oregon play USC? Yes, they do. USC plays Nebraska. Okay, so that's not. I don't see any connections there with college football. With the NFL, the only connection that I really found was. It's not really a connection, but let's just see. So week one, or sorry, not week one, but first weekend. Again, LA, Minnesota. Bills basically are Toronto's team. They're playing Carolina. Packers and Steelers. So that'll be the Aaron Rodgers show. But there's no Pennsylvania teams left. You got the Commanders and Chiefs. Commander in Chief. Interesting. On 127. Or it's 1027, but it's 127 in numerology. Remember, Commanders, they're Washington's team, like how the Mariners are from Washington. And what's actually the one thing that I did notice is right after the World Series, the Seahawks do play Washington. That would be the day after Game 7. Oh, who do the Rams play this week? The Rams play the Saints. And who do the Packers play? Packers play Panthers. And the Bills play the Chiefs. Yeah, there aren't really any great matchups that seem to connect with like a foreshadowing the World Series. At least none that I see. I mean, the only one that I really saw was that Bucks-Raptors game in the NBA. But who knows if that means they'll meet. I mean, all right. Let me just go back through my notes one more time to make sure there's nothing I'm glossing over. Yeah, I guess the one thing that the one takeaway is if the 20th. No, it was until it was. Alright, so if this would be Game 7 of the ALCS and Game 6 of the NLCS, that is 109 days before Minoru Yamasaki's death date. Also 15 weeks and 4 days, like how 201 is the 54th composite. And how many days before his... So Game 7 is 1 month and 11 days before Yamasaki's birthday. And remember, Minoru Yamasaki would be... No, that's not. Where is it? Gotta pull up that one. Remember, Minoru Yamasaki, so he would be 112 years old right now. Remember Bobby Jenks. If we go back to Bobby Jenks. And Bobby Jenks spent a little bit of time in Seattle, March 14th to July 4th. $112 days. 112 days. And remember, 112 is the 82nd composite number, like Seattle equals 82. Catholicism. Seattle's got that Catholic university, Seattle U. Jesuits claim to operate in 112 countries. Yeah, and of course, Charlie Kirk shot on the day, leaving 112 days left in the year. Right, and there was also that, Seattle WA 137. Remember the Major League Cricket? That always has a foreshadow for the World Series. 2025. In the final, New York over Washington, 180 plus 175, that's 355, just to show you that here. 180 plus 175 is 355. 355 total runs. 355 is the 112th semi-prime. And that day, 112, or sorry, not the day, it was this 713. Let's just go back. 713 to 110 days before the 31st is interesting, but 112 days before 11/2 was more interesting. In regards to the 110 thing, the team that won, MI New York, equals 110 and 47. Yeah, that game was on 13/7. That's the day leaving 171. 194, is that... 194 is a semi-prime. 62nd semi-prime. Interesting. Where's my 62? Minoru Yamasaki 62. Seattle Mariners 62. That is interesting. Right, and MI New York, they won the inaugural championship back in 2023, and that was over Seattle. And I talked about, and I made a video on that. I said, oh, it looks like the Rangers are going to win the World Series because of this. But yeah, that's another topic for another time. So is it the 194th day of the year? That's what it was. Yeah, MI New York. MINY is also 47. Yeah, I think that's it for now. It's been almost an hour. Good live stream. World Series start, not the World Series, the NLCS, or sorry, no, the ALCS starts in a few hours. Mariners have a good riddle to win, but that Bucks-Raptors game is interesting. I'll say that. I don't know if Mariners win Game 1 tonight, but I think they do get the split in Toronto. Probably comes back for at least Game 6. And Brewers-Dodgers, it's a little bit harder to decipher, but we'll have to see. All right, we'll catch you guys later.